students. I'm Siraj Khan, lecturer in English Cust. Welcome to my subject Morphology and Syntax. Our course code is English 262 and it's our lecture number 20. In the previous lectures, we talked about class and its types, and we also discussed dependent and independent classes. But in this lecture, we are going to discuss it in detail. How to identify independent and dependent classes. When we want to use commas and semicolons in sentences, and when we are concerned about whether a sentence is or is not a fragment, a good way to start is to be able to recognize dependent and independent clauses. An independent clause is a group of words that contains a subject and verb and expresses a complete thought. An independent clause is a sentence. For example, he studied in the sweet shop for his chemistry quiz. This is an independent clause. And a dependent clause is a group of words that contains a subject and verb but does not express a complete thought. A dependent clause cannot be a sentence. Often a dependent clause is marked by a dependent marker word, like when he studied in the sweet shop for his chemistry quiz. Like what happened when he studied, the thought is incomplete. And as I said, the dependent marker word is a word added to the beginning of an independent clause that makes it into a dependent clause when, because, after, although, is, if. These are coming in the lecture. We will discuss it in detail. The outlines are, first of all, what is a clause, its types, independent clause, connecting words, coordinations, and coordinating conjunctions, subordinating conjunctions or subordinates, comma, splices. Understanding the part of a sentence. English parts of a sentence like subject, predicate, direct object, indirect object, object of the preposition, transitive verbs and intransitive verbs, linking verbs, complements, and exercises. These are like in a sentence we can go through all these things: subject, predicate, verb, direct object, indirect object, object of the preposition. Verbs can be transitive or intransitive. What is a clause? It is a group of related words containing a subject and a verb. Clause is equal to subject plus verb. A clause is a meaningful combination of words as it can alone express a complete thought that has got a subject and a verb. A complete sentence is a clause. A clause can be a simple sentence, hence clause is also sometimes defined as a group of words having a subject and a predicate. It can also be said that each sentence consists of at least one clause, and it is clauses are the basic building blocks of sentences in the English language. What is a subject? A subject is the person or the doer of an action that does something, or the subject performs the verb. In a sentence, we have a doer of an action, or in a sentence we give name to someone or something, that is called the subject. And predicate is the part of a sentence or that can be called as verb part. So we are talking about the subject in the predicate. The dog jumped over the fence. Now, the subject, the dog, which is highlighted as green of the sentence, is the dog because the dog is doing the action, and the verb is jumped because it is the action. He smiled at her. My teacher told us to read quietly. He is the subject here, smile is the verb, at her is the object. My teacher told us to read quietly. My teacher is the subject, told is the verb. A verb can also describe a state such as be, have, like, see, etc. For example, mom will be home soon. The subject of this sentence is mom, the verb is be. Classes. The patient died. One class. I waited for him, but he didn't come. So, I waited for him is one class, which is connected by a coordinating conjunction, but he didn't come is the second class. I'm going to college because I want to meet my friend. Here, I'm going to college is one class, which is connected by a subordinating conjunction because I want to meet my friend. Here we have got that dependent marker because. So one independent class, I'm going to college because I want to meet my friend, is the dependent class. My brother likes biology and I like math. My brother likes biology. Here, one independent class connected by and, a coordinating conjunction. I like math. The second independent class. Because I want to become an engineer is the third class. So two independent and one dependent class because we have got a dependent marker because I want to become an engineer. So the third class is the dependent class. Class types. I see independent class in DC is dependent class. Independent class in dependent class. Independent class that expresses a complete thought and can stand alone. Independent class is equal to complete thought. Like an independent class gives us a complete thought. I picked a flower for you. I read a book. The girl sings a song. Grammatically complete statements like these are sentences and can stand alone when they are part of longer sentences. They are referred to as independent or main classes. A class that can stand by itself and still make sense. It can be its own sentence or be part of a larger one. Ali plays tennis, simple sentence. Ali plays tennis, but Ashir reads a book. It is a compound sentence. Ali plays tennis, one class, connected by a coordinating conjunction, but Ashir reads a book is the second class. So both are independent classes connected by a coordinating conjunction that can give us compound sentence by a comma and little conjunction and, but, are, nor, for, yet, and sometimes. So are the coordinating conjunctions that can give us a compound sentence. Compound sentences can be formed by a semicolon as well. by a semicolon accompanied by conjunctive adverbs such as however, moreover, nevertheless, as a result, consequently, etc. And of course, independent clauses are often not connected by punctuation at all but are separated by a period. Dependent clause that cannot stand by itself. It is a group of words that contains a subject and verb but does not express a complete thought. A dependent clause cannot be a sentence. Often, a dependent clause is marked by a dependent marker, as I said earlier, that we are having a dependent marker there. So, dependent clause is incomplete thought. A subordinate clause trying to stand by itself would be a sentence fragment. Subordinate clauses are sometimes called dependent markers or dependent clauses that can give us dependent. When I picked a flower for you, what happened when I picked the flower? This is not a complete thought or sentence. If I read a book, what happens if my mom is nice? This is not a complete thought or sentence. The dependent clause must be connected with an independent clause to make a complete sentence. So, for independent clause, a dependent for a dependent clause, an independent clause, that the dependent clause must be connected with an independent clause to make a complete sentence. So, for dependent clause, an independent clause is compulsory. I planted flowers because I like flowers. So, here, because I like flowers is the dependent clause, and I planted flowers. Because F sends after thou, unless even thou, when all thou are subordinate conjunctions to form dependent clauses. As a subordinate clause has a subject and verb, but unlike an independent clause, cannot stand by itself. It depends on something else in the sentence to express a complete thought, which is why it's also called a dependent clause. Some subordinate clauses are introduced by relative pronouns who, whom, that, which, what, whose, and some by subordinating conjunctions although, because, etc. Subordinate clauses function in sentences as adjectives, nouns, and adverbs. Connecting dependent and independent clauses. Independent clauses with subordinating conjunctions. There are two types of words that can be used as connectors at the beginning of an independent clause: coordinating conjunctions and independent marker words. Independent clause, coordinating conjunction plus independent clause. For example, my brother is sleeping and I am reading a book. Here we are having two clauses connected by a coordinating conjunction and. Coordinating conjunctions are connecting words that are used to connect independent clauses. There are 7 subordinating conjunctions: and, but, for, are, nor, so, and yet. Fan wise, that is a formula we use. When the second independent clause in a sentence begins with a coordinating conjunction, a comma is needed before the coordinating conjunction. These are the 7 connectors. Coordinating conjunction is placed before the second independent clause. A comma is used before the coordinating conjunction. For example, she likes to cook carrots, but he likes to eat them raw. Here we are having a comma before the coordinating conjunction, but. She likes to cook carrots and he likes to eat them raw are both independent clauses because they are complete sentences. They are connected with the coordinating conjunction but. Asher wanted to see a movie, so Lisa drove him to the theater. Asher wanted to see a movie and Lisa drove him to the theater are both independent clauses because they are complete sentences. They are connected with the coordinating conjunction. So, Ali studied in the sweet shop for his chemistry quiz, but it was hard to concentrate because of the noise. The dog was fast, yet the cat got away by climbing the fence. Here, the dog was fast and the cat got away by climbing the fence are both independent clauses because they are connected by a coordinating conjunction yet. So connect independent clauses with just a semicolon like independent clause plus semicolon plus independent clause. So instead of putting a connecting word like coordinating conjunction, we put a semicolon like my brother is sleeping followed by semicolon I am reading a book. So semicolons can connect two independent clauses without using a coordinating conjunction. For example, the dog likes my blanket, he sleeps on my bed, followed by a semicolon, he sleeps on my bed. The trees are beautiful, semicolon, it is autumn here. That chair broke, semicolon, it is time to buy a new one. It connects independent clauses with an independent marker word, independent clause plus independent marker word plus independent clause. For example, my brother is sleeping, however, I am reading a book. Independent marker words are another way to connect clauses. These words are used at the beginning of independent clauses and these are called coordinating words. Some common independent marker words are also, consequently, furthermore, however, moreover, nevertheless, and therefore. And these are also called conjunctive adverbs. What's the difference between a dependent marker word such as if, while, and since, and independent marker words such as also and therefore? If a dependent marker word is used, the clause cannot stand alone as a complete sentence. For example, if she leaves. Here we are having a dependent marker F that gives us an incomplete sentence. If an independent marker word is used, the clause can stand alone as a complete sentence. For example, therefore she leaves. Here it gives us a complete sentence. A semicolon is placed before the independent marker word. Do not capitalize the independent marker word after a semicolon. Keep this thing in mind. Like you can also use a period before the dependent marker word, but note that then you have two separate sentences, not clauses. Dependent clauses are completed by adding an independent class to the sentence, like independent class plus dependent class. For example, my brother is reading a book plus because I am sleeping. So my brother is reading a book. It's an independent class followed by a dependent class because I am sleeping. So now it can give us a complete class in sentence. Independent class plus comma plus dependent class. For example, because my brother is sleeping, I'm reading a book. So my brother is reading a book plus because I am sleeping. So we can change its places, like because my brother is sleeping followed by a comma, I'm reading a book. So in the above example, we have not given a comma. When you're starting it with a dependent marker, then you have to put a comma after the dependent class. We usually place a comma after the dependent class if it begins with a dependent marker word. We can leave the comma out if we reverse the order of the clauses, like because the girl laughed. That is incorrect. What happened because the girl laughed? This is not a complete thought. The correct one, because the girl laughed, I smiled. So now it's a complete thought. So I smiled because the girl laughed. Note that in this case we left out the comma. Some other examples, like when I picked a flower for you, which is incorrect. What happened when I picked the flower? This is not a complete thought. And when we say, when I picked a flower for you, a bee stung me. A bee stung me when I picked a flower for you. Which are the correct examples. Another example is, if my mom is nice. What happens if my mom is nice? This is not a complete thought. The correct one, if my mom is nice, she will take us to the park today. My mom will take us to the park today if she is nice. Another example, while my teacher taught me to read, which is incorrect. And what happened while my teacher taught me to read? This is not a complete thought. While my teacher taught me to read, the other students worked quietly in their notebooks. The other students worked quietly in their notebooks while my teacher taught me to read. Comma splices. Comma splices. A comma splice is the use of a comma between two independent clauses. Like you can usually fix the error by changing the comma to a period and therefore making the two clauses into two separate sentences, by changing the comma to a semicolon, or by making one clause dependent by inserting a dependent marker word in front of it. Splice means a connection point. And do not use just a comma to connect independent clauses. This is called a comma splice and is incorrect. It's not comma always, like he is wearing a sweater, comma, he is cold, which is the incorrect. The correct one, that would be, he is wearing a sweater because he is cold. Not like he is wearing a sweater, comma, he is cold. No. He is wearing a sweater because he is cold. Because he is cold, he is wearing a sweater. He is wearing a sweater and he is cold. Not just comma, then you have to put a connecting word. He is wearing a sweater or a semicolon, he is cold. He is wearing a sweater, he is cold. With a period. But here he is wearing a sweater, he is cold. It's not a class because there is a period, and a period can give us two sentences, not a class. Correct example, he is wearing a sweater, therefore he is cold. Again a period. Thank you very much. In sometime we are having other examples of few sentences happen when there are two independent clauses not separated by any form of punctuation. This error is also known as a run-on sentence. We call that. The error can sometimes be corrected by adding a period, semicolon, or colon to separate the two sentences. Like, my professor is intelligent, I have learnt a lot from her or him. The correct one that would be like, my professor is intelligent, period, I have learnt a lot from him. My professor is intelligent, semicolon, I have learnt a lot from her. My professor is intelligent, moreover, I have learnt a lot from her. So sometimes we are having sentence fragments, like sentence fragments happen by treating a dependent clause or other independent clauses or incomplete thought as a complete sentence. We can usually fix this error by combining it with another sentence to make a complete thought, or by removing the dependent marker, like, because I forgot the exam was today, so which is incorrect. The correct one would be like, because I forgot the exam was today, comma, I didn't study, or I forgot the exam was today. Thank you very much and good luck.